Hi, Mike DePung here, and I'm really glad that you joined me. For the rest of this month, I would like to occasionally, I don't know how often I'll do it, but I would like to talk about the book that I wrote a few years ago called Martin, Maya, and Me, A Brief Exploration of Social Injustice. And I'm going to read a part of the beginning of it today and a little bit of an explanation of it. So stick with me here because during this Black History Month, I'm obviously not Black, but I want to maybe just provide some food for thought for those who look like me, or those who might be close to my age, or those who still have the same kinds of things going on today as when I was young. So in my book, I want to take my experiences and interactions with the social issues that revolve around racism from the time of Dr. King. And I want to talk about my current views and my role as an ally to those whose voice has been strangled almost to a quiet gurgle. It's incredible that this is still going on. As I share some of the things that I'm going to share and that I do share in the book, which is available if you want to buy it, um, you would see that it's just almost unbelievable, but it's because people haven't valued who we are as human beings. And so I use the literature of Dr. King and Maya Angelou to frame some of the social injustices. He explores the essence of humanity, Martin does, um, in Letter from Birmingham City Jail. And Maya uses The Pulse of Morning, a magnificent poem. If you haven't read it, you really need to look it up and read it. Um, all the injustices that we know of today, things that go on, not just racial issues here in the US, but around the world, the things that are going on here amongst many people in this nation and in the Middle East and in uh, Ukraine and in the rest of Africa, other parts of Africa, all of these arise from some kind of murky misunderstanding of who we are as human beings and how we are related. So I want to just provide some of the things that I've written that will be ideas that you can think about, especially if you look more like me. Um, so that's the point here. And I'm going to just read then from some of this that I've written in the very beginning here. I began evolving during the age of civil rights movement in the United States. Brown versus Topeka Board of Education was decided the year I was born. I heard and saw the newsreels of Dr. King speaking, of George Wallace and scores of others denouncing and hating, of so many polar opposite opinions. Opinions continue as they always have. Stories continue too, and I get to tell my story just as I hope anyone would be free to tell theirs. I remember an early summer's evening in 1974. I was involved in a small church. I would gradually discover the shallowness that underlay much of the flowery facades of their philosophy. But I have always been idealistic. Maybe that attitude is simply a byproduct of the age in which I was born. However, that evening in 1974, my idealistic fervor, born of love but undoubtedly tainted by the wispy, waspy elements of racism, a group of about five of us had gone by invitation to hold a vacation Bible school in a North St. Louis African American neighborhood. We would save those poor children. I had no idea how different life was, only 20 minutes or so from where I lived. 20 minutes. How different? We sent out word through a couple kids that we were having free juice, drinks, and snacks. We were operating out of a Context modest home, and we would actually hold the lessons in a small but vacant garage on his property. We had about 100 kids that first night of the 5 nights, and it would grow to 150 by week's end. Another 20-year-old boy and I talked with some of the younger boys, maybe they were like 8 or 9 years old. We discovered that groups ranging from 10 to 20 or so of the kids there basically lived on the streets, and at night they all stayed together in groups for safety. They didn't need saving, they needed safety, security, and food, the most basic things. One night, my friend and I started playing ball in the alley with a few of the kids who had one bat and one beat up softball. One of the younger boys hit the ball into a high privacy fenced backyard. They said, "Game's over." We told him we would go get the ball. They told us that a dangerous German Shepherd guard dog was in the yard, and he didn't bark until someone entered. Then it was too late. We told them we'd go and ask the owner to retrieve the ball. The kid's eyes widened. We shrugged, ran around the end of the alley and up the few houses to the front of the house with the dog in the yard and the kid's one ball. To our surprise, that house's facade had been altered. Bricks had been knocked out and replaced with large plate glass windows that had big red letters scrawled across them, identifying the house as the Boogie Shack. Jukebox music blared from within. We could see all African American adults inside, eating, drinking, and a few dancing. Suddenly, we weren't the big kids from the alley, but we had promised the boys. We strode across the dance floor smiling. No return smiles. Silence. The few dancers sat down without looking. We saw every eye. Someone yanked the jukebox plug from the wall socket. More silence. At the counter across the room, a large, scowling lady appeared from the kitchen area and cut through the wall of silence. "What the hell is going on in here?" I gulped and looked straight ahead. I leaned on the tattered plastic laminate countertop and tried to whisper to the lady who was evidently the owner. Told her about the ball in the backyard and the kids being afraid of the dog. Muttering began to occur behind us. The lady glared at us, seething with a sweaty anger. When she said, "Wait here, don't move," not only was it a command to us, but also to everybody else in the place. She left and reappeared within a minute, one of the longest minutes of my life because I could hear the undercurrent of speech behind me. She slammed the ball on the counter, looked us both up and down, and said, "This is your only time. Tell those boys to play far away from here, and don't you white boys ever come in here again, or you will never leave." I believed her. We ran as soon as we were outside. I wasn't angry. If I had heard about an instance like this from someone else or on the news, I probably would have been angry. Such responses are part of racism, part of my brand of racism in much younger days. The implication would be something like this: I'm helping these little kids, giving the poor little things some treats, fun, and spiritual hope, and my life is threatened by people from their neighborhood. What ingrates? Talk about racism. Yeah, I felt like that in earlier years. Those early evenings of the Vacation Bible School week helped to spark my rising consciousness. I wondered if the people in the boogie shack knew about the kids sleeping in groups on the street at night. I wondered if some of them had grown up in the same way, and I wondered why they hated me. I suppose they wondered why they had been hated for 200 plus years, or how I had the gall to invade their intimacy. That night provided me with a slight understanding of how it felt to be a stranger in a strange land and hated simply because I didn't look the same or act the same. And I would add today, for today, believe the same. So that's my story. That's part of my story. That's the story I opened the book with. And I have a lot of things in there that then, and I can't help it. I'm an English teacher. I taught lit for too long. And so I look at a little bit. I don't belabor anything. It's a very short book. But I look at some of the literature and the energy shared in that literature from Martin Luther King Jr. and from Maya Angelou, and weave it with some of my experiences like this. So, at any rate, that's it for today, and I wish you all love and peace until next time.